After a successful day of hunting down sprites for the High Priestess Eva Srivastava and uncovering the secret fairy occult hidden within the Sylvan Glade, it was safe to say that Shanna and Sage Kealoha were exhausted from their long adventure, heading back to the realm of magic to reward themselves for their hard work. Considering Sage did most of the work, Shanna went ahead and decided to treat him to some spellcaster goodies from the mystic shops, Sage restocking some potion ingredients. He was feeling so full of himself, he really solved Eva's quest, and understanding the true nature of his mystic powers made him feel a bit cocky. Before heading back home to Evergreen Harbor, Sage felt the need to catch up with some of the sages of magic, giving Shanna some time to do what she does best, potion making. Because parenting definitely wasn't her strong suit, Sage wandered the halls of the magic headquarters until he ran into Felix, the Sage of Mischief, buttering him up before asking him to teach him a new potion and spell. He then made his way downstairs, running into Sage of Untamed Magic Kelly Bolden along the way, gaining the knowledge of yet another spell. Riko Miyamoto, the Sage of Practical Magic, saw the duo together and decided to greet Sage as well, teaching him one of the most advanced spells he'd ever learned, Transportalate. Holy shit, Sage can teleport now. Good was not a good enough word to describe how Sage was feeling. He was feeling invincible. Maybe what his mom said was right. Maybe he was more powerful than he originally thought. Maybe he'll become the strongest spellcaster of his generation. Maybe Eva Srivastava can wait for him, and they could have adorable, powerful, magical babies. Okay, take it easy, Sage. But the powerful mother and son duo weren't done just yet. Shanna had to drop these sprites off to Eva, and fast, so they headed to her place in Henford Bagley, Shanna telling Sage to wait nearby. As he waited at a nearby bench, Shanna made her way over to Eva's front door and, like her son, was feeling confident as ever. She knocked on Eva's door, finding it open, seeing no sign of her, but that's when she heard her voice calling her over to her potion room. She found Eva halfway through brewing a batch of the potion of alluring aura. She stopped once she noticed Shanna's presence. How great it was to see her again. Shanna bore gifts, the 50 sprites that she had requested. Eva invited Shanna to sit with her. She was so proud of her for figuring out and completing the quest. She guessed that meant that Shanna finally met their allies, the fairies. Yes, she had, Shanna gushed. In all her years of spellcasting, never once had she witnessed or even read of them. Well, Eva began. That was because Shanna has so much more to learn about their kind's history, and with her guidance, she will soon know everything there is to know. She congratulated Shanna. She was in. She told her to meet her in the Realm of Magic's conference hall on the night of the upcoming full moon for her induction ceremony. Shanna was beyond thrilled. She did it. Well, kind of. But it doesn't matter how it was done. She was in a coven, and so were Sage and Aurora for the rest of their lives. They would have a sense of community in the spellcasting world and always be protected and provided for. It was finally time to go back home to Evergreen Harbor and stay there. Shanna and Sage walked back home to find Oasis watching television and our Heir Aurora's eyes planted on a tome. Sage deciding to sit down and join her. Oasis couldn't lie. Seeing Sage and Aurora reading those huge, fancy books together and bonding over it all did make her feel a bit envious. But like she always did, she tried to stay positive. Being grateful for the roof she was under, the beautiful weather outside, and the plants and insects she calls her friends. Speaking of the plants and insects, Shanna would be spending the last bits of energy she had left tending to Autumn's garden. She missed her terribly, and she couldn't wait to see her again the next day. She hoped she was having a good time in San Myshuno, but it seemed like Oasis did a good job watering the plants and collecting the cricket flower, though Sage, per usual, had no plans of resting anytime soon. He asked his baby sisters if they wanted to get out of the house and go with him somewhere today. Sage returned to the Mystic Artifacts store he once visited as a child, bringing Aurora and Oasis along for the ride. Not only was he ditching school when he first visited, but he also didn't have any of his own money. And since he had achieved so much over the past few days, he felt like it was finally time to reward himself. Everything in here was so weird and interesting. The various insects and aliens and artifacts. The twins thought the shop was pretty cool too. This dude really bought the alien that looks like a giant piece of blue ducky out of all things. The twins still wanted to look around, so Sage decided to talk to one of the cute shopkeepers. And Aurora was really keeping her eye on that voodoo doll. Who on earth would you need to use that on, Miss Girl? And that's when Sage took a few moments to analyze one of the shopkeepers up at the register. She looked oddly familiar, but he couldn't pinpoint where he had seen her from. And it was almost like she heard his thoughts, because before he even realized, she was coming over to talk to him. Not Sage being attracted to her. Liking older women without having mommy issues is crazy. Sage learned that the shopkeeper's name was Elise, and she wasn't actually a shopkeeper. She was the owner of Mystic Artifacts, a powerful businesswoman. I know Sage just felt something. Aurora kept an eye on her brother as he continued talking with the mysterious shop owner. Overhearing Sage tell Elise that he swore he'd seen her somewhere before. They spent a few more minutes chatting about the store and items for sale, becoming friends very quickly. And once Elise noticed how comfortable Sage was, she asked him if he wanted to come downstairs with her to the basement to see some special artifacts not for sale to the general public. And what did Sage say to the mysterious older woman he barely knows, inviting him down to her basement? Yes, he said yes. Your survival skills are just as terrible as Aunt Renesmee's critical thinking skills. They proceeded to walk down to the shop's basement, leaving Aurora and Oasis extremely confused. But really, they had nothing to be confused about. Elise wasn't some creepy shop owner. She was actually just a spellcaster. A spellcaster with a hidden collection of tomes, wands, and potions that Sage had never seen before. Elise really hoped that Sage didn't think she was some predator trying to lure unsuspecting boys to her basement. She just couldn't tell him she was a fellow spellcaster in a shop full of humans. While Sage didn't even think about the chances of her being a predator. You don't think that much at all, do you, Sage? Elise explained that she is a collector and seller of rare spellcaster artifacts and banned tomes. Banned tomes exist. Sage's mind was continuously getting blown. What's next? Was his grandmother a psychopath that murdered her former lover and his whole family? Wait a second, Sage said. How on earth did Elise know that he was a fellow spellcaster? She saw him earlier today in the realm of magic practicing with the sages. Oh, so that's where Sage recognized her from, and Elise remembered seeing Sage visit her shop when he was a child. You see, Elise's shop relies on word of mouth to get business and gain access to new products. She and some of her spellcaster employees will tell fellow spellcasters about the shop, offering to buy any artifacts they might have, while also encouraging them to come take a look at their products. She saw how powerful Sage was earlier today, very impressive for his age, she might add. Elise figured that he might take interest in some of the things she has to offer, and was she correct? Sage was extremely interested. She told him he was free to look around and even read a few of the tomes if he'd like. And Sage loved the sound of reading a banned tome. The first one he opened was covered in a forest shade of green. Never once had he seen a green tome before, the Tome of Lucky Charm. He took breaks from skimming through the banned tomes to chat with Elise. Why were these tomes banned to begin with? She went on to explain that many of these tomes teach spells that are seen as dangerous. For example, one of the tomes Sage had picked up, the Tome of Zombie Curse, could possibly unleash an irreversible disease to the public, ending humanity as we know it. Or the Tome of Poison Dart. If it were to end up in the wrong hands, countless innocent lives could be taken in mere seconds. For that very reason, many high-ranking spellcaster families, including Eva's ancestors, along with the former sages of magic, agreed to have these tomes banned from public sale. But that doesn't mean that it stopped people from passing on the originals down future generations or creating their own black market copies. Every tome in this room was an original, all of them with a significant amount of pages missing so that they cannot be fully understood prior to purchasing, including the tome of Lucky Charm that Sage was holding. Sage was so incredibly intrigued by everything in this place, he never wanted to leave. But there were two tomes that made him raise his eyebrows. What were these? Their symbols were completely different than any tome he'd ever seen, including most of the ones in here. And that's when Elise told Sage to get comfortable. She had a story to tell him. Both of these books were not in fact tomes, they were guides. Handbooks, if you will. The purple one on the left should be quite obvious, and Sage agreed that it was. This is the handbook of the fairy occult. He just discovered that they existed literally last night. That was right, Elise told him. The fairies are extremely peaceful creatures. They don't make a spectacle of themselves and blend in with humans so easily. They have been long-time allies of the spellcasting community. Sage wondered why that was. Elise was making it sound like the spellcasters were at risk of going to war. And that's because they once were. The book on the right is the guidebook of another occult, one that Sage has probably heard of in the movies, or seen little girls dress up as on Spooky Day. This book was the guide to witchcraft. Yes, that's right. Witches. They exist. Or existed. Sage was a bit confused. Aren't spellcasters essentially witches? Elise thought that was cute, how little he knew about their history, but she warned him. Calling a spellcaster a witch to their face was practically a slur, and there is a reason for it. The store was due to close soon, meaning she didn't have much time to explain everything, so she left out the details and focused on the point. No, the witches were not the same as the spellcasters. Their energy is darker, their magic is deadlier, and they had to be eradicated for the sake of the spellcasting community and humanity as a whole. She bets that there were some that were still alive out there somewhere, deep in hiding, but they haven't shown their faces in nearly half a century, and it needs to stay that way. She has their guide solely for historical purposes. It is not for reading and it is not for sale to anyone ever. Well, anyways, he should probably get going. The sun's setting, but he's free to come back whenever he wants. But Sage didn't want to leave. He wanted to know more about the witches. Sage did, in fact, leave and did not, in fact, learn anything more about the witches from Elise. But it was all he could think about as he read the tome of Lucky Charm he bought from Elise before getting kicked out of the store. Reading and contemplating the witches was going to have to wait, because Shanna came over to Sage, needing to talk to him about something important. He noticed that she was all dressed up. Was she going out? She was going out, yes. But not without him. She had a favor to ask. Shanna wanted to voice to Sage once again how proud of him she was with all of his progress as a spellcaster, as well as in school. He is everything that she has ever wanted in a son and more. She remembers when she was pregnant with him, and now he was almost a man. Sage was curious as to why his overall happy mother was getting so chummy and emotional. So, Shanna began to explain. Sage has lived a very comfortable, privileged life. She and Autumn couldn't say the same about their childhoods, especially Autumn. His mom has been through a lot. She has a lot of skeletons in her closet that maybe he was finally old enough and mature enough to know about. Shanna loves Autumn so much and wants nothing more than to make her happy. So there's something she needs to do, something she needs to give Autumn, and she wants Sage's help in order to do it. She had to warn him. It involved a lot of magic. It was gruesome. It was heavy. But if he really wants to learn, this is the way you do it. So intrigued, Sage sat and listened to his mom's proposal, stunned at the family secrets being revealed to him. While all the way in the arts district of San Myshuno, Autumn Kealoha was out on the town with somebody. Euphoric as can be, with no clue at all what her wife and her son were up to.